Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. Still living in the shadow of our earlier loss. But I really think there's, hold on, this is an amazing start. Zwep Digest, my favorite periodical magazine. What is a periodical? Anyway, back in the day I used to, magazines were like the height of entertaining reading when I was a kid. You son of a guns, not again. Not like this. Let me run something by you, okay? You got newspapers, you got books, you got magazines. Alright? Let's look at them in the many different possible areas of criticism. Paper quality. Newspapers made out of recycled garbage. The more you read, the more ink gets onto your hands. Books, books, the paper quality varies, but for the most part, is decent, relatively pleasant to the touch. But sometimes, they yellow over time, because they're well read. Sometimes you end up in these situations where, somebody sneezed on this page, then they sold it to the used bookstore. At least I hope they sneezed on it. Otherwise, why are the pages stuck together? Those aren't pillows? Okay. Magazines. High quality. Glossy. Smooth to the touch. Sometimes you touch rubbing my hand on a newspaper for whatever reason for me feels like it just makes my skin crawl. It's like the way other people feel, I think, when you get nails on a chalkboard. I'm just like, ugh. I'm just moving my fingers in the way and imagining there's a newspaper in between them right now. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't know if a lot of people are in the same boat there, but some people are like that for various different fabrics or materials, like velvet. Some people hate the feel of velvet. Anyway. Quality of discourse, newspaper. Well, especially when you're a kid, what do you read a dang old newspaper for? Sports scores, that's it. Pick up the newspaper. What's number one? Oh, a city councilor charged with drunk driving. What's the city councilor? What's drunk? What's driving? I don't know. All I want to know is how many goals Cam Neely scored last night. Yeah, we'll just head down. Books, timeless. You got your good books. Your Narnias, your Lord of the Rings, you got your bad books. Doesn't even need to be mentioned. 50 Shades of Grey didn't exist when I was a kid. Because Twilight didn't exist yet. So what would they base 50 Shades of Grey on? Anyway, so you got, high quality but risk reward. Magazines, the content is always new. It's about whatever you want it to be about. You like gardening? Gardener's Weekly. You like video games? Official PlayStation Magazine, Official Xbox Magazine, PC Gamer, Maximum PC, Electronic Gaming Monthly, Game Informer, a licky boom boom down. There's a staggering amount of video game related magazines. You guys remember Gamer? It was a magazine that Electronics Boutique used to sell. It might have actually become Game Informer at some point. I remember it was a smoking deal as a kid. Well, as a teenager. They were like, hey, $10. You get an Electronics Boutique Edge card. What does that get you? 10% off all used games. So all you need to do to pay for itself was buy $100 worth of used games in a calendar year. Not a big deal, right? That's, in most situations, that's like 3 or 4 used games. And it pays for itself. And, oh, dude, thank you. By buying the Edge card, you got yourself a subscription to Gamer. Now, I think they only published it once every 2 months. I might be mistaken there, but still, a $10 subscription for a consumer loyalty program and the magazine, that's incredible. Now, I gotta level with you, it wasn't one of the magazines that came with a demo disc, but still. Back in the day, before websites and blogs really started popping off, magazines were like the only opportunity you had if you wanted to learn more about upcoming video games. We didn't know what the heck a conflict of interest was. We're like, okay, this Nintendo game got a 9 out of 10 from official Nintendo Power magazine. How could it possibly be bad? Anyway. That's how, I mean, I never see a newspaper come with a dang old demo disc, okay? That's all I'm trying to say. Give me a little monstro here. It's a great run, obviously. It's almost an unlosable run already, and I'm happy to see it this way. I ever tell the anecdote? So I mean, I'm less anxious as an adult than I was as a child. As a child, I was, I mean, paranoid I wouldn't necessarily say is the right word, but I was like an only child. I didn't have a whole lot of life experience until I went to college, basically. Even then, I don't know if I'd say I have a lot, but, you know, I would get nervous really easily. You know, I watch Men in Black. I'm nervous, dude. Could be an alien invasion. I watch Independence Day. What if the aliens invade? No joke. And then, I mean, this is kind of like a tragic story, but I was like, well, it's not tragic, but melancholy. I was like 12 when September 11th happened. And the night it happened, I couldn't get to sleep. And I'm sure that's true for like a lot of people, because it was, you know, obviously a traumatic event to begin with. But like part of it was like, you know, empathy. But part of it was like, what if Al-Qaeda wants to fly a plane into my house? I lived in like the suburbs. Not even the suburbs, like the wilderness, more or less. You know, but when you're a kid, you don't possess the necessary, like, sort of context for that, you know? You're not like, dude, what is Osama bin Laden? What's his quarrel with me? Living out here in the woods of Ontario is probably relatively low. Anyway, the point is, I was a nervous kid, but I made a great deal with my parents once. I was taking swimming lessons, and I was always afraid to jump into the water. I always lowered myself gently into the water. Which I have to be honest with you, just as an adult now, seems like just the safer way to do it whenever you get a chance. But anyway, my parents were like, you gotta jump into the water. It's part of like your swimming lessons. You know, you gotta hit this thing on the checklist if you want to pass this level of swimming lessons. And I was like, I don't want to. And they're like, okay, what if you jump into the water, we'll get you a 1-year subscription to Nintendo Power. You know exactly what I was doing next time swimming lessons rolled around. I cut a deal with them. I distinctly remember getting to the edge of the water and jumping in. And as soon as I jumped in, I was like, first off, this is fun. And secondly, I just cut the greatest deal in the history of deals. I got a magazine subscription to do something fun. Now, I didn't, you know, in the end, my parents, you know, they're raising me. So all they had to do this time, and it's a subscription to Nintendo Power in like 1998. It was literally like $17. This is a pretty good deal, right? But, and it was, you get screwed too, because if you try to buy the magazines like at the grocery store, they're like 12 bucks each. It's crazy. But, you know, I owe him one for that. Now, when I'm out around a swimming pool, I'm at a lake, doesn't matter, I'll jump into the water. It's fun, dude. I got no anxiety related to swimming anymore. Largely because of Nintendo Power. So thank you, Shigeru Miyamoto. You know not the influence that you've had on my life. Let me caffeinate a little bit. Look, I love the idea of a newspaper. You know, when I look forward to being you know, an older dude, I picture myself out on the balcony or on a little breakfast nook. Got a cup of cold brew in my hand and a newspaper. Only this says not a newspaper, it'd be like a tablet or something. Just cause I'm really not trying to be like a weirdo about it, but something about the holding newspaper, like, it just feels weird. Like, do you experience that? When you touch a newspaper, my fingers are like, I don't like this. I just don't like this. I'm not weird about it with many things, but it's the closest I come to understanding when people are like, please don't say the word moist. I'm eating. We also, like, the Game Show Network affiliate Buzzer sent us, like, an appreciation swag pack once, because I hosted them on Twitch, because I think old game shows are hilarious. And it included like a Plinko chip from The Price is Right. And just touching the Plinko chip made me want to die. That's not meant as like a slander towards Drew Carey. Like the game Plinko, oh, I'd suck it up to have a chance to win a few grand minimum. But the chip itself is made out of some kind of like, you know, chalky mineral. When I hold it, it just feels like I'm getting dust all over my hands. Even like talking about it right now, it makes my fingers feel weird. Like I feel like I have to rub them against each other to get the debris off. Ugh. Human brains, it's an amazing thing. Anyway, thanks, Mom and Dad. You did me a real solid on that one. I forever grateful. You know, did they have to go through that? No. They could have just been like, just jump into the water or like, we won't feed you. But I appreciate the positive reinforcement. I gotta say, if you have the means, spending 20 bucks to teach your kid a lesson in a productive fashion is probably a reasonably good ask, you know, when you consider how expensive being a parent is to begin with. If I'm lucky enough to have those means, I mean, those magazines don't exist anymore because it just doesn't make sense why you would, I mean, you're going to print up like a 60-page magazine? Hey, by the time, news travels fast in the modern era, man. I know Game Informer still exists, but, you know, it's, you can't really get by with like, okay, news broke in, like, November 13th. We can put it in our January issue. People are gonna be like, I know, dude. I know. Anyway. I used to read, like, those magazines that, like, even, let's say, you know, kids, they're easily entertained, right? Here's a routine of mine from, like, the age of 11 years old to probably, like, the age of 13. I would take a shower in the morning before school. I woke up at, like, 6:45. So I had a lot of time, most of the time, before the bus came. I would take a shower. I don't care about this money. I would turn on a space heater to help me, you know, like, dry off from the shower. I hate that we lost HP there, but, you know, like one of those tiny little heaters. And then I would just, like, lay in front of it and read old Nintendo Power magazines. To the point where, like, the magazines, the pages got warped. How long has it been since we've seen in Isaac's room, dude? I would be like, oh, you know, it's a Tuesday. What should I read today? How about a vintage Nintendo Power from 1999? I would never recommend that, you know, like, as an adult, when I get out of the shower, I just want to dry off. Look, people, I really believe in the expression, the grass is greener on the other side. People go, yeah, well, it's easy for you to dry off. You don't have to dry your hair. Yeah, well, you know what? It's easier for you to dry off. You probably don't have hair covering your entire body except for your head, you know? Shoulders, back, really the entire body from t-shirt level down, you know? So don't give me that, you know, everybody else must always have it so much easier for me. I'm just saying, okay? Oh, I can't get to that, which makes perfect sense. You know, it's kind of like I wouldn't call it an extreme waste of electricity. It's not like I'm just leaving it running for no benefit. It was pleasant, but simultaneously, I'm pretty sure now if I was like, yeah, you know what I do to dry off from the shower? I just, I will give myself like a little wipe with the towel, but then I just lay in front of a space heater for like 15 minutes. Kate would be like, do you just hate the planet? Is that... It was a different time then. Okay, we still might like to save a key, but... Look, it was 6 months before the release of An Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore. There was nothing we could have known, dude. Kids have weird habits, you know? Especially, like, I I'm very thankful. It's another like no regrets sort of conversation, but I'm very thankful the fact that I'm a little idiosyncratic. I'm not like John Waters level where, you know, people are like, I'm not totally sure about this guy and his thin mustache. Is he a cultural legend or is he a little demented, you know? I'm just a little, I'm like a normal dude who has like a bizarre perspective sometimes, and I really think that that comes from, you know, being an only child and, you know, living not really out in the woods necessarily, but probably being like under socialized a little bit, not quite homeschool level, but so this left like habits in my brain, and we're not gonna open these because we need to go to item rooms. Habits and attitudes in my brain that had a chance to crystallize, whereas I think if I had like an older sibling, they would have been like, what are you talking about, you weirdo? What do you mean you cool out or you dry off with a space heater? Just use a towel, you weirdo. And I'd be like, yeah, I was just joking anyway. Big bro, you're so cool. So I'm like, I'm thankful for the idiosyncrasy. Is that the word? I'm thankful for that because it's led me to, you know, have an interesting perspective. And I think that when I'm outside, because, you know, sometimes I'll be talking to Kate, you know, we'll be out, like, good classic examples at the grocery store. And, I'll just be a dude, like, you know, smelling oranges. Like, I had told this story, but, like, you know, a year ago, we were in, like, this coffee shop that overlooks the grocery store, because it's in the grocery store. And, you know, I was drinking my coffee, and for, like, 5 minutes, this dude was just picking up oranges and smelling them. Picking up oranges and smelling them. Picking up oranges and smelling them. I was like, Kate, what's up with this dude? You see this guy? He's been smelling oranges for like, you know, 5 minutes here. I might, here's the thing. That's just terrible damage. Is smelling an orange to determine its freshness something that's okay to do? I actually don't know. I mean, you might think that I would be predisposed to say yes, but I really don't think, I have my doubts that the human sense of smell is strong enough and with like fine-grained control enough to pick up the difference between two oranges that have been sitting in a box with like 75 other oranges for 4 days. You know, I think that all those oranges are going to smell pretty similar, but maybe he's got a, you know, he can smell crime. You know what I mean? But Kate was just like, well, maybe he's like really concerned about the orange. You know, he really wants to make sure he gets the perfect orange. See, I didn't grow up having people like that to come up with like a reasonable, you know, use case for why. The same thing like when people are in the grocery store and they're looking at like their comparison shopping for nutritional information between like two identically priced cans of like drained black beans, and I'm like, they're beans. They're the same species of plant. What kind of nutritional information you look at? Beans, no salt added. Ingredients on the back. Beans. What do you think is gonna, like, there's gonna be a huge macronutrient difference? Do you think they actually check every single bean they put in the can? They put it in a calorimeter to figure out, oh, well, this... Anyway, so the thing is, like, I guess I grew up not being shamed for being judgmental, and I'm very thankful for that. This has led me on this glorious career path I have here. I was never, that's like a media trope that I wouldn't say I disagree with, but I have like a different opinion of. I have a, what's the word? Dissenting opinion, yeah. Because there's always like, Mom, for Christmas, can I have a big brother? Well, I guess you couldn't get a big brother. For Christmas, can I have a little brother? I was never like that. When my parents, sometimes they ask me, they're like, you know, did you ever want like a sibling? And I was like, nah, dude. Honestly, I'm good. I got time to read. I don't have to share my stuff with anybody. It's nice. Hold on, what do you got for me in here? Dunce Cap has screwed us in the past. I refuse. Nothing there is that interesting. And you know, when I would tell kids at school, I'd be like, I'm an only child. They would be like, lucky. And I was like, all right, fair enough. If you say I'm lucky, then I have a tendency to believe you. Now, you know, you do miss out on stuff. I'm sure. I mean, like, Kate has an older sister. And it's kind of, like, it's nice to have... I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. It's not like a contentious opinion. I just want to phrase it, like, as elegantly as possible. It's nice to be able to share weird stories about your parents with another adult, you know? Whereas, like, as an only child, I never have the majority, right? It's not like my parents, you know, I got anything that I've been meaning to, like, bring to their attention. It's more just like sometimes, you know, Kate and her older sister will share a funny story about, like, something unusual their parents did. Like, hey, remember that time, like, we ate grass for dinner? That's just a hypothetical, by the way. And then, you know, they've got the numbers. You know, they got a 50-50 split here, so they can bring it up and, you know, they've got the conversational momentum behind it. I can't bring anything like that up because I'm like, hey, remember the time that, you know, you and Dad, you know, fed me grass for breakfast? And they'll be like, yeah, what about it? And I'm like, never mind. Look, this joke didn't really go anywhere. It's how it happens in Isaac sometimes, in everything sometimes. Sometimes you just expect the humor to show up later and it doesn't. And that's okay. It's okay. Even though it's been a short episode, it's still a lot of dialogue to get, you know, to handle just by your lonesome, you know what I mean? It will probably remain a short episode, by the way, because, I mean, Mom's knife in your first, and we got it from an item room, I think. It's even better. It's insanely simple. We will, in all likelihood, fight Mega Satan, though. Anyway, I'm just saying. I respect the idiosyncrasy. I think I got lucky, too. You might think I'm an idiot, and that's fine. I mean, I did stutter slightly 2 sentences ago after talking on a bridge for 22 minutes and 8 seconds, so clearly my intelligence should be called into question. However, helps to ever, I think I got lucky, because I wrote that line as a youngster that was like, is he bright, or is he, like, bright enough that we gotta, like, send him off to, you know, one of the Stranger Things labs and, you know, mess with his whole life. I remember I had meetings with my school, and like my mom and the principal and my teachers, and they were like, you know, there's a real prospect that we could skip Ryan forward a year. And when you're a kid, you don't know. You're just like, yeah, you know, like I'm in 2nd grade. If next year I could be in 4th grade, that's cool. Maybe the math will be like. So, because I'm not saying I was a public school, not even outlier, just like near the top end of the curve in a public school. It wasn't like I was Doogie Howser going to Harvard for medical school as an 8-year-old, but or one of the kid who like he made a 3D printer out of Lego. Like, that's next level genius, obviously. But you know, in like first grade, 2nd grade, they teach you addition. And it wasn't just me. There were a lot of kids that were like, all right, I get addition. You know, you got 3 of something, you had 8 of something, now you got 11. Can we learn multiplication? And they kept teasing us along. They were like, yeah, well, you know, at the end of the year, we'll learn multiplication. Guess what? End of the year, didn't learn multiplication. 2nd grade, end of the year, didn't learn multiplication. Took until like 3rd grade, and they would hit you with like what's a 1 times 6? And you're like, oh, that's a tough one. Anyway, so they had conversations, you know, not just me, but, you know, some of the kids I hung out with. They're like, should we skip these kids forward grades? And at the end of the day, the teachers were smarter than I was, which makes sense because they were, like, old as dirt, and I was a little baby. But they were probably, like, 30. They were ancient. They were like, you know, for, like, scholastic ability, you could probably skip them forward a year and you wouldn't suffer at all. But for social ability, it would be unnecessarily, like, deleterious to skip him ahead. So what? Now he's going to end up, you know, going to his first year of university when he's, you know, 16 years old for a few months. He's going to turn 17 halfway through his first year of university. Like, is that really what you want? And that is a good point, I think. Having an extra year in public school, I think, kept me grounded to normalcy. I would always, like, it's the same thing, like, you know, if we have a child and that child ends up being bright, I would be very hesitant to skip them forward a year. I feel like that's like antiquated acceleration. What I would rather do is, I mean, it sounds like rude parenting, but like I would rather like give them harder stuff to do at home, like manual labor. Just like get a couple of big rocks and an axe and be like, hey, break this rock up, Einstein. No, I just mean like, you know, I hear this a lot, and I was kind of in this crowd as well. People who are like, I was bright in school, but school was too easy, so I didn't try that hard. As a result, I developed lazy habits. Don't take this as like I'm trying to insult you directly, because it's also me, you know? If I could work hard and get like a, you know, 95 out of 100 average, that's one thing. If I worked 30% as hard, I get like an 89. That's a tough case to make to a child, that you should invest way more time to get to that level. So I just, you know, make your kid smart if they're already smart by forcing them to go to even more school. Look, I'm not a parent. I don't know where I'm going with this. So I'm just saying, skipping, I think, is a bad idea. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps it a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!